reminder that there will be one on November 5th as well. So if you're a Dine with 9 organizer, or you are I need to go watch the Colts game at 1 o'clock, or, yeah, I know Ken, I see you. That's going to be a long morning, but we need you here on the 5th. So worship, followed by an update from our Wabash folks 2.0, then followed by the meeting. So we will be as pithy as possible at that meeting, but we also have lots of things to share at that meeting and lots of input to gather from you all, so it's critical and important that you come if you can. And then the December meeting, I think, is on 12/3, and we'll know more about that one once we have the one in November. So mark your calendars for those 2 upcoming. And now I'll invite Eric up to open us. Sorry, I had to gather them before they all ran away.
Hi, Eric Smith, President of your Governance Council. Most of you know that at this point. So this month's update involves 3 sections. We will have our finance and operations folks give you a brief update. And then we'll have generosity give you an even briefer update. And then our ministry council will have an update from them as well. After each section, we will pause for questions. And I'll run around and bring the microphone to you at that time. And then we will not have a vote. We could already cover this. Stop me if I've repeated anything. We will not have a vote today, but this will generally be related to the vote we will potentially have on November 5th. Is this making sense? Okay. And then I was asked to remind everyone that November 5th will also be All Saints Day. Maybe a rehashing, but because I already said it, okay, I'll stop there, and I'll hand over to Lauren.
No, I'm just saying, hold the microphone closer. He's done anyway. To all my feature speakers, these microphones need to be really close for those who can't hear, and for those of us who can hear, quite frankly. Theologically, a 2-second introduction. We are the people of the Exodus story. We are away from our homeland. We are in a wilderness. That is not all bad. Some of the beauty of the wilderness will shine through. Some of the amazing understandings that come on a journey will also come to each of us. So I just wanted to pop in here and say, although it feels overwhelming at times and might even offer some moments of anger if we are being truthful and confessional, that is biblical. It is the Exodus story. It is also the story of Jesus, who sometimes chose to go to the wilderness and sometimes was thrust there. So I just offer that as a place to begin. We are not apart from our own story. We are in fact living our scriptures. And I know that's exciting to more than just Dakota and me. So if any of those insights start to percolate for you, feel free to let us know and be in conversation, because having the scriptures come alive is really a gift, even when it feels like a huge inconvenience. All right? So with that, here we go.
Good morning, everybody. So no voting today, but when you leave here, but when you leave here, how's that? You'll know 2 things. One, how long is Lori Radford's shopping list? And what is the most expensive sleep aid ever? So I'm going to talk about the project ahead of us in kind of 2 parts, and just to remind you that we're using the word restoration to talk about the work on the building and the contents that the insurance company will pay for, and their definition is to get you back to pre-fire condition. Now in some cases that's kind of a win, because we have to replace all the carpet, and they don't make us go find 20-year-old carpet. We just buy new carpet. So it's kind of a win. But the other half is improvements. That's the stuff that we have to pay for because we think it's time to make that change to the church, an improvement to the church. And I actually want to start today with the latter, the improvements, because frankly, that's where all the fun is. And it's kind of energizing, frankly. It's exciting. It's fun to think about. It is so cool to think about our future church and what it's going to look like and what we're going to be able to do there. One of you reminded me, this person I don't think is in the room, but one of you reminded me that this is a real opportunity to grasp, to make sure that we not just fix up the church, but make some improvements to the church so that the church survives and serves the community for the next 50 years. And this person said Central Indiana needs a church like this one, right, given the state of the world. And I think if you think about how unique and how valuable this church community is for the broader community, I bet you'll agree. So that made me think, yes, we're not just doing it for us, we're doing it for the next generation. It's like planting a tree that you may never climb. You're doing it for the people who should be here today, for the people who come in every week and give us a try. You're even doing it for the people who are going to be born soon and need a place to grow up in. And this is the opportunity, I think, to preserve and improve the church for all of that. So, I have to admit, I am warming up to the possibility that we need to do some borrowing to make the changes, the improvements that need to be made. Now, a fundraising campaign is even better. But if a fundraising campaign doesn't do it, then I'm warming up to the idea that we might have to do some borrowing. Now, the improvements that our team is focusing on really all grew out of the Wabash discussions that were held 6 months ago, 8 months ago. And we're trying to take those thoughts and those questions and those priorities and turn them into an actionable list, because we have to move forward, with the physical changes, any physical changes to the church pretty quickly. So we're looking at all those questions. How do we solve some of the physical accessibility issues so that we're welcoming to all? How do we best solve some of the old problems that we've known about for a while? How can we also make sure that we're welcoming to, for example, families with young children? How do we optimize the use of all of that space? How do we create a cohesive and comprehensive new look and feel, a so-called aesthetic that actually is thoughtfully designed all at once? That is a tremendous opportunity. So, from a foreshadowing point of view, what we will talk about a month from today, maybe we can eliminate the steps up to the chancel. Wouldn't that be cool to be able to hear from Debbie more frequently? We're here, she was able to very easily get up here to what we call the stage here. If you went to seminary, you call it a chancel. Front of the church is the chancel. Say that again? So maybe we can eliminate the steps up to the chancel, right? Maybe we can fix a wall or two, fix the automatic door, add a wall or two here or there, maybe add a doorway, etc. So I'm just trying to entice you to make sure that you come to our meeting in 1 month. So what happens at that meeting is we give you the specific recommendations and the investment required, and for your consideration, hopefully we take a vote, and obviously we refine the list, and hopefully we get your approval. On that list, I want to ask you about one thing. I want to ask you to start thinking about one thing that we're going to have to decide on relatively soon. It does appear that the pews will have to be replaced, and that the insurance company will give us the value of those pews, the replacement value for those pews. We are taking a serious look at the use of these specially made pew chairs. They are basically big, comfortable chairs, but they gang together. You link them together to form what would otherwise be a pew. They are as comfortable as you want them to be. You can buy bare bones, you can buy pretty comfortable ones. I looked at them and I said, you had me at lumbar support. They had really great backs. But there are other advantages. So one is to support physical accessibility. So that imagine the chairs you're sitting in, but imagine each one can be removed, or 2 or 3 can be removed, right? So if a person in a wheelchair says, I really like to be in the front row, or I really like to be near the choir, all you gotta do is move some chairs around and make room for somebody of that nature. You can also buy some of the chairs with arms. So somebody who likes to have arms on their chair for the purpose of standing up and sitting down, very easy to do. They can be rearranged differently for unique types of worship. So you can have circles that are kind of facing one another. You can have a perfectly straight row. You can have a gentle arc, etc. They can be rearranged for special events. So a wedding or a funeral or a concert or a community gathering might want to have a different setup than we do for our worship. They support kind of ease of maintenance. Get them out of the way when you need to repair part of the carpet or when you need to change the lights in the sanctuary. It would allow you to incorporate music in different ways. You could have the bell choir right in the center of the sanctuary if you wanted. All you got to do is remove the chairs or in different places. Same for worship stations for special services, etc. So we will probably, so that you can actually see some examples and talk about it more. And as I said, we will come back to that when we meet in a month from today. Finally, an update on the restoration side of the work that is underway. A couple of items of good news. Number one, the insurance company has approved our moving forward with repairing the roof. You'll remember that the roof has 3 holes in it, and it's best and easiest to do those repairs before it gets super cold, so we can move forward with that. Another item of good news, we now know with really good confidence that the repairs to the building are going to be way, way, way under the maximum or cap that our policy will cover. We also, another item of good news, we believe that the contents coverage, you have a different line of insurance coverage for the contents of the building. We believe that that will be adequate for everything that we need to buy that's considered contents. We'll probably be right at that cap, but by investing wisely in what we really need, we'll be able to deal with that cap as well. So here's the question. Guess how many individual items are on the contents inventory that the insurance company had to do. This will help you understand why we haven't moved forward, because the first thing the insurance company did was send some people into our very stinky building and said, count everything. And they did. So guess how many individual items we're going to be buying? That's higher. 10,000 is very close. 10,500 individual items are on this spreadsheet. Okay? Lori, you're up to that? No problem. That's your shopping list. More good news. I am learning to be patient while we're waiting for the insurance company. You can tell, we're just kidding. I'm not learning to be patient. But it's also true that I cannot blame, I can't say enough positive things about the insurance company, honestly. They are helpful, they are guiding us through this process, they're helping us understand what has to be done, and they're taking their time. They're getting it all right before they give us the green light. They're gonna help us with a number of dollars that's in the middle of 1 million and 2 million. So that's a ton of money for them to send our way. So you can't blame them for wanting to make sure all of the I's are dotted before they give us the green light. But I do think that that green light is coming very, very soon. And when it does, when I say very soon, I really think that no later than mid-October, we can delete these tapes, right? So I believe they'll give us the go-ahead. And then you got to do some of these things sequentially. When they do and tell us exactly how we must proceed, then we'll finalize the paperwork with the restoration company. They, believe me, their posture is we are ready to rock and roll. So they're ready to do the work. So they will then come in, load out all of the contents, do the demolition work. That'll also involve a little more investigation work to see exactly what has to be replaced. They'll do all of their cleaning to try to get rid of the stink. Then they'll do the sealing of certain surfaces to kind of keep in that stink where they can't clean it off. I bet we get all of that done by the end of the calendar year. So that means hopefully January is very exciting because we're in that rebuilding phase. And we're kind of looking forward, and all we're doing is the steps that are necessary to get the thing built the way it's going to be for the future. So I say yay to that. So how long will that take? I think we're going to be able to move back into the building in the third quarter of 2024. So somewhere between July 1st and, the end of September of next year, we should be able to move back in. So, most expensive sleep aid. Jenny is coming up next. The insurance company. No, hear me out. As you know, Jenny is our treasurer, and she spends a lot of time worrying about whether we can pay the bills and stuff. The insurance company sent Jenny $100,000 just so she could sleep at home.
Yes, I do like to get $100,000 checks, but it wasn't really for me. Obviously, it was in the church's bank account. But that is a great piece of news. And I really don't have much to share with all of you today. The Governance Council got some feedback that maybe some folks are concerned about whether or not the church has enough money right now. And obviously, as John has illustrated to you, the church has very, very good insurance coverage that is getting us through this process, and we are paying our bills. We have purchased the things that we need to continue with worship and other important church activities. So I'm just here to kind of reassure all of you that things are going very well. Operations and things that come up that are unexpected or unplanned for, probably yes. We've never been through this process before, but we're very confident that we're going to get through all of this. And right now, things are going very smoothly. So we're going to have questions later, but that's really all I had to share with all of you today.
Hi, Kelly Bradbury, Vice President, and also as Vice President, you lead the Finance and Ops team. So I am here just to give you some brief updates with what's going on generally with finance under the Finance and Ops team. And our message today, if you haven't already figured it out from John and Jenny, is that we are okay. Even though we are in exile, we are going to be okay, and we're doing okay. So in Finance and Ops, staff support, you all probably read that we hired a new administrative assistant. Her name is Lori Davis, but she's introduced in an email as Lori Ann, so you can call her Lori Davis or Lori Ann. The tech team is working on live streaming and our roadie ministry, which Isaiah and I just did this morning, and Isaiah was really excited about it. So anyway, the tech team has been working on all of that. You also can get involved in the roadie ministry if you'd like. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Isaiah might be a more positive person to talk to about it if you'd like. The Native Habitat team, very exciting things are going on with that because it is a Native Habitat team with a new leader, Dory Keys. Dory's right here. So thank you to Dory for that. If you'd like to be involved with the Native Habitat team, speak to Dory. Dory is going to be reporting to our traditional building and grounds team, which this is a part where you all can participate in the quiz too, is led by who until John takes back over? Do you guys remember who traditional? Dakota, exactly right. Okay, you passed. Also, on the grounds of the church, we are very excited to report that there will be portable restrooms that are ADA accessible. We're paying about $300 a month for those. And we have also, we purchased a new shed way back in the pre-fire times, and that's been delivered and placed on the grounds. And then finally, under Finance and Ops team, the safety team's been working on a risk assessment for our building once we're back in the building, And they've kind of deferred to the Clay Middle School policies in the interim while we're here, but they're also working on portable safety packs to be made available to all of our ministry teams when we're all meeting at various locations in the interim. So that's all from Finance and Ops, and I believe we're gonna have a question time, Eric?
Yes, just.
I feel like I need
You're
to-
not obligated to ask questions, but if you've had questions pop into your mind as we're talking about finance and ops.
Thanks, Kelly. The portable safety packs that you're talking about, does that include an AED, or is that, what is the composition of those packs?
Is Brian Atkinson in here? He doesn't know the answer.
That's because I didn't tell him to start yet. No, what I think we're going to try to do in some way, and it may not be fully safety team's responsibility, but they might help, is basically put together 1 or 2 portable packs that have first aid, the things that you might need in that response, and I'm thinking we're going to look into making an AED in each one of them. But again, we're still putting them together, and hopefully they'll be together in the next couple of weeks or months as we have meetings like choir at the Atkinson House, or wherever there might need to be that. And it's only if you want. It's not going to become policy that if you're a team leader and you're having a meeting, you have to get it. It's going to be, if you're having a meeting and you feel it's good that you have it on hand, we'll have it available to you. It's not going to become new policy that you have to have it with you all the time. I don't think. Does that help? Good, Brian? Now you know what you're doing? Okay, great.
Other questions?
Bill Greg. Are we hiring as someone to have an overall, like a general contractor that handles like all the inside improvements we're doing, so we have like consistency in materials and looks and aesthetics?
Yeah, his name's John Kramer.
Not quite. So the answer will be yes. We will have what you could call a general contractor for the rebuilding phase. So think of it as January 1st and on. We have already hired Crossroads Restoration by Service Master to handle the stages up until that point. So that's the 4 stages that I mentioned. We are checking references on Crossroads Restoration to think about whether we want to use them for the entirety of the process. And so we consider that decision of who do we use from January 1st on to be an open decision that the team is talking through. But somebody will do that work. Somebody will be a general contractor and make all of that happen and find the subs that are willing to come on time and all that kind of stuff. Other questions?
So I'm hearing pretty clearly that the insurance company is going to be giving us funding for building and capital items, building equipment, things like that. What is the coverage on operating expenses, given that we're missing some revenue this year from the preschool and have some additional expenses?
That's a great question. So we have a policy rider or line item that covers what they call business continuity and extra expenses. And so it should cover things like how much net income were we going to get from the preschool. And it should cover things like the severance that we had to pay to the preschool teachers when we suspended. And also things like renting this place. This is less than $1,000 a week, but that's not money we were planning to spend. So things like that can just keeping things running. If it is genuinely an expense that we would not have otherwise had, then we can ask the insurance company to pay for it. And I think that policy is $500,000, for all of that stuff added up. Yeah, Dakota's tracking all of that, and we haven't gotten guidance yet from the insurance company on exactly what they'll say yes to and what they won't. That's a meeting that'll probably happen this coming week. But we're pretty positive that the things that are substantial, they will pay for. And so we can report on that too once we get that answer from them. And they're actually, I was kidding earlier about sending our friend Jenny here $100,000. That's an advance. They literally did do that. They will probably give us an advance on some of these other components as well. Because once they know that it's coming, they're happy to share that money. They don't want to have a problem with bill payment. And then their style is to then look at the actual receipts and then true things up at the end. Well, and the way they true things up is they give you all the money that they hadn't given you yet, right? But you have to provide all the receipts. So we'll be in great shape from a cash flow point of view.
Now on changes that are being made, and do we have input into that? Suggestion?
So yes and yes, yeah. Lori Radford, right over there waving, she is the leader of the part of the team that we're calling the aesthetics team and contents team. So things like, important things like whether we get pews or pew chairs, what color are they, and does that match the carpeting, and is the carpeting in the sanctuary slightly different than the carpeting out in the hallway, and all those questions. And so yes, you can send her your suggestions. And she's you know, new in this, and we're having some preliminary high-level meetings. It wouldn't surprise anybody for her team to grow and for her to have maybe a sub-team that focuses on one particular part of the building and that sort of thing over time. You want to say anything yourself? I don't know why I answered your question.
No.
Okay.
I'll speak for the other Lori, one of the many. Lori Radford is scheming with this whole team. There's another opportunity that started today in what I actually am calling Fellowship Hall, although I've noticed the cafeteria, but this week I started calling it Fellowship Hall, and I feel like that's a good sign. So in New Fellowship Hall, there are 4 poster boards that have questions on them and Post-it notes available to you. So those of you who are not interested in speaking, but still want your voice heard, you can answer those questions. We will put up new questions periodically. We will have different colors of Post-it notes so we can track what happens each week. But they are questions like, what is one feature space item that you miss from our building? Or what is the feel that you would like when you walk into our building once it's renovated? Some of that type of stuff will help guide the team. So if there are things that you've been thinking, I promise there's a way to fit it into 1 or 6 Post-it notes. You can use as many as you'd like. Onto the poster boards that will be there weekly for those who would prefer to write and not speak directly.
And to be honest, I've already been checking those poster boards, and a couple of the responses I thought, oh, I wonder what they mean by that. So if you would like someone to follow up with you on a response, please be sure to leave your name on the Post-it note, except for Holly.
I'm going to direct this to John, and not wanting to be facetious about this, but has there been any discussion among the risk management people from the insurance and our congregation about installation of lightning rods at some point to, especially over the electric boxes or wherever it's appropriate?
Yes, so that is something that we want to take a look at. It's not chronologically only, it's not at the top of our list. But the answer is yes. We want to look at that. We want to look at what do we consider inside the building to be an adequate fire detection system. And, you know, connecting to outside monitoring companies and all that kind of stuff. We want to come to that. The only reason I say it's not chronologically at the top of the list is that we have plenty of time to decide. The first thing we have to decide is walls and floors, because, you know, the framers come in and they tear stuff out and they put stuff in. So that's kind of what our primary focus is on, this is a design point of view.
About lightning only struck once. Anyhow, that's not what I wanted to say. Okay, so I only had one question, but now I have 4. So, what's our deductible?
$1,000 if you can believe that.
Across the board?
Across the board, so
Okay.
it's practically nothing, yeah.
Yeah, that's remarkable. That's why we pay so much premium, but it's also because, so we're part of a group plan, which is all of the UCC churches all over the country. Is that correct? So that's why they're being nice to you, just so you know. Okay.
I agree that it's great to be affiliated with the denomination. The guy I speak with every day, he works for an actual insurance company. So it's this weird combination of true insurance companies and reinsurance companies and our denomination. But I also agree, he's very nice and helpful to us.
Cool. Also, I just want to say, I think that Lori Redford wasn't just some slub we just picked out, because she actually has a resume that backs her up as a wonderful chairperson for what she's going to be doing, and I just thought maybe she should share a little bit of her, come on.
My resume, spoken resume for you is, I have a degree in business administration, a concentration in marketing, and a minor in fine arts. I've worked in many, many different industries, doing all kinds of things, but a key component of a lot of my jobs has been coordinating. So coordinating the efforts of people as well as the look and the feel and the design of, I would say, a lot of like printed materials and things like that, but also like open houses and condo building tours and design, just all the different things. So in later life, I became an occupational therapist, went back to school for that. So I'm also looking at accessibility components. And what else? Anything else, Dan? And I'm just a really nice person to work with, apparently, according to my sister.
Well said. All right, are we ready to? One more down here.
So if we need to spend additional money for bringing utility services up to code, is that something that would be provided?
Another good question. So the insurance policy has a section for mandatory code improvements. So if we can argue it is absolutely required for our building, the kind of building that what we're going to use the building for, et cetera, then yes, they'll pay for it. There's a cap on that also, but there's plenty of room there. If we think, oh, you really ought to have this thing these days, and it's just subjective, then that's up to us. Anybody else?
We will move the generosity section, and then we'll pause again for questions after Judy speaks.
I'm using the steps. I admire those that can step up onto the stage. That is not me. I'm not going to take that chance. Good morning. So first of all, I have to tell you a fun little trivia about me. So when I first walked in for choir practice before all of you were here, these lovely curtains were open and I saw the risers and I thought, oh wow, we're using risers. And I would have been on those risers, about 40-ish years ago in this building. So that's just fun. I don't think I've been in this building since I attended here, and here we are. So I'm your generosity lead. And first, I want to say thank you for your generous spirits of keeping things going by either your pledged giving or your planned giving, and it's so vital that you continue to do that so that as we move forward, those funds are there. Let's see. And then there will be, as John alluded to, there will be opportunities for both specific and general fundraising in the months ahead as we see what funds we are receiving and what funds we need. And speaking of that, we actually have a fun fundraiser that's starting next week, and you'll learn more about it, but it kind of goes with our Faces of Faith, and we'll have some art that we'll get to discover as we all participate in that fundraiser. So look for details about that in tomorrow's announcements, and we'll have a little introduction to it next Sunday when we have our generosity moment. So thanks, guys. Any questions? We're not doing questions right now.
We were going to pause after each section. has anyone had any questions? Come behind us. Judy was speaking. Thanks, Judy. Okay, we will go ahead with the district council.
Hi. I'll try to make this brief because it's 11:45 and I'm still exhausted from marching band things yesterday and it's time for lunch. So we are going to talk about ministry council because while it's important to know all the things happening financially and insurance and the building and the decisions, what's also important is that we are still a community no matter where we're meeting. And our ministries are still doing all the things. And there's some really great energy and great ideas that hopefully you've already seen and more to come. So I'm going to run through some of this. Every time I get up here and talk about ministry council and our teams, I have a regular theme. And that theme is for you to get involved, right? For you to volunteer. If you have ideas for things, if you want to serve on a team, if you want to help lead something, if you whatever, I highly recommend jumping in, getting involved. I'll point out some leaders as we go here. Okay, Spiritual Life. You heard that they had a great retreat yesterday at the Atkinson's home, focusing on faith. We've got this great mobile over here. They've got small groups running, like the 55 plus group, the Spiritual Connections group, the third Thursday breakfast, book groups, and more. This team would really love to expand the people on the team, and the person to talk to is Patty Peck. I don't think Patty's here today. Okay, but Patty is the person to talk to. And if you don't know Patty, you can contact me or one of our pastors and we'll get you connected. Missions team. You've heard today that we're doing the October gift card drive. We've got plans for the Giving Tree in November and something new coming in December. There's going to be a missions fair in November where you get to hear from some of our ministry partners, our missions partners. And Susie Storm is our team lead. I also think Susie's not here today. Correct. So again, me, these people, if you don't know Susie. Our preschool ministry is being considered as we journey through the building recovery and the timelines that recovery will take, and we will continue to keep you updated. Our music team is finding new practice spaces. Choir has resumed. We had chimey things last week. Chimey things last week. And we're looking to get some of our traditional things like caroling in place this year. So again, this team would love to expand and have more people on the team or involved in what the team does. Sarah Scholl is the person to contact if you'd like to get involved. Hospitality has been providing coffee and treats after worship each week in our new fellowship hall, hoping that people will stay after church and connect with each other. They have evolved to a hospitality on wheels method with an easy to transport and set up drink and food station. They always need volunteers, bakers, set up people, clean up people. The person to contact if you would like to get involved is Lori Radford. She's the star today. Then our education team led by Juge. Hi Juge, there she is. We've got Worship and Wonder and 456 has started up. They're working on a pageant for Advent season. And again, always need people to be engaged with the team, helping to teach, and Juge has lots of creative ways you can get involved as well. So please talk to Juge if you'd like to get involved with our youth, our children. And then, along the theme of We Are Okay, worship is journeying through phases. Then we'll be focusing on how a weary world rejoices, and then Christmas Eve in the morning, and Christmas Eve Vespers. There. I said all the words. That's it for me. Do you have any questions about things happening with our ministries? One over there. Sarah, where are we? No, Mike's so the online people can hear us.
My kids have been wondering when youth group will reconvene now that it's October.
Yeah, that's a good question. Lori and I are going to probably meet this week to figure something about that out. One of the great things about ministry is that you never know what you're going to get called into. And my predecessor had their own gifts. And Becca was amazing at what she did in missions and in families and in young people. I knew early on that that wasn't a ministry I was necessarily called to, not because I don't like young people, but if you talk with me, I don't feel like a young person. I relate to people like Holly. No offense, Holly. However, ministry is all about growing. So Lori and I are going to work on something. We don't know what it is yet. But I was like, maybe I really need to lean in and try to get involved. So we'll figure out what that means as far as a youth leader and youth opportunities, but who knows?
Yeah, and I'll just name, Stevie Cook has been leading our youth group for a number of years, and Stevie has a new job, and just let me know this week that that is beyond her capacity on Sundays. I will also name that it is many of our youth who have been helping with our live stream, and we don't want to take them away from one thing to do another. And our youth are amazing with their schedules. In case anybody's wondering, putting together marching band, show choir, wrestling, and I forget the other one that's major, and finding one time when they can meet is proving to be challenging. So we are not giving up on our youth, and I'm delighted when I see them. But we're going to ask you parents for some help as to how to best get them in one space, because that also feels elusive at times. Oh, the location isn't the problem. I have many people who want to give us the space. It is the time. So it's the time and the people to lead it. So if you, unlike Dakota, really love being with teenagers like I do and have more time to do that, please be in touch with us because we do have to also maintain some safe church. So soon and very soon. Thanks.
Cheryl has asked me to stand up to tell you all, please mark your calendars, for we're excited about Sunday, December 17th. We're talking about caroling, which is our normal caroling where we go to all the assisted living places. Please come. It's delightful. You don't even, but that's not that day. That's what it was mentioned. So I'm telling you, that's a different thing. December 17th, Sunday afternoon or evening, to be determined. St. Mark's Methodist Church, Gray Road, has offered their building for us to have real caroling by us in a church. So it feels like Christmas. I see some of my brass and woodwind players in the room. We want to have all variety of music that Sunday, and then fellowship after, Lori Radford, eating, singing, drinking, having a great time. Just normal church drinking.
So, does St. Mark's have a pipe organ by chance that we might be using?
They do. Abby's pretty excited to play a pipe organ.
And then I will also say, we've spent the last, your pastors really act like sort of, sorry, in the camera? Okay, there we go. Your pastors sort of do this straw poll thing recently because we try to talk to you all a little bit before we actually either make decisions or try to do something new. And so we had sort of talked about Christmas Eve, and Liz mentioned it. So our plan tentatively is to have Christmas Eve morning, 10 a.m. on Sunday on the 24th here, traditional service of like an hour, hour and a half with song and scripture and preaching. And then if you've ever attended an Easter sunrise, we're going to do a Christmas Eve sunset, which will be around the 5:30 time period, and we will have something at our building, and we're making arrangements to be able to be there outdoors of our building and worship there in a way that reminds us of how important the space is to us and the need for us to be together at that space on this special holiday. So that's why we're calling it Christmas Eve Vespers or Christmas Eve Sunset. And we'll make all the safety arrangements so that that's accessible for as many as possible. Other questions?
I do not have a question, but I have an announcement, so I feel like I should stand up like Sarah did. And Paul and I were married at St. Mark's United Methodist, so we welcome you to our marital space on this I just wanted to mention that Hospitality is going to be hosting a hanging of the greens on November 19th. That's the first day of Advent, I believe? No. Okay, yeah. we're getting them done in time for Advent to begin. It is on the grounds of the church, so we're decorating spaces outside of the church, just to have time to be together and to celebrate. So look for that coming up too.
All right, and since we opened that can of worms, I will say it again here. Advent with St. Peter's is starting the Sunday after Thanksgiving. That's November 26th. If you look around town and you see Advent starting December 3rd, that's because they're going with the traditional Advent calendar. We here at St. Peter's took liberty and moved Advent back a week because you all don't really care. You just want it to start after Thanksgiving. If you don't move it back, it means you have the 4th week of Advent, the morning of Christmas Eve, and none of you are coming twice. So we weren't going to do Christmas 4th Saturday Advent that morning and then turn around and do Christmas Eve that night. That wasn't going to work. So we backed it all up. So the King of the Greens will be the 19th of November. The first Sunday of Advent will be the 26th. Then December 3rd, 10, 17, and then Christmas Eve, which will be a traditional service here in the morning and Christmas at sunset at the church grounds in the afternoon. Any other questions about Christmas, Advent, Thanksgiving?
There's also a work day coming up, so as I take over some traditional B&G things so that John can have all his free time to learn patience with insurance, I'm trying to keep the grounds of our building as nice as possible and as well maintained as possible, and Dory Keys and their Native Habitat team have been an amazing resource to that, and we are getting together to do a church work day. How many of you have ever gone to a church work day? Great. I expect all of those hands to be, no, I'm just kidding. But they used to be these huge events, right? And they kind of trickled off, and that's okay because we're changing at St. Peter's. So we only have to have these every so often to sort of catch up on the maintenance of the building. So we're going to have that on Saturday, October 14th from 9 to 1. You'll see that in the announcements. And if you have like adopted a bed or you just have free time and you want to spend that time at the church, I will not at all be monitoring when you come and do things at the church. So if you want to come weed beds or just maintain some areas of our building on the exterior, you don't need to clear it with me first unless you're like chopping down a tree or something. But that would be great to just see you come when you can, spend time on the grounds, be spiritual, and lend a hand. It'd be great.
Are we still prohibited? Are we still prohibited from pulling weeds because there's a special strategy?
Oh, the thistle. Talk to Dory Keys about the thistle. It's been cut down by our company and it's been sprayed several times. So I think I'm okay to say, Dory, that we can go ahead and dig up what remains. Yes. And if you want to know about thistle maintenance, we finally found the person who knows all of our iterations, and there's something to do with the seed heads that fall that we need picked up as well. But Dory's taking care of that. So yes, you can pull up the weeds. Yes.
Thank you.
And just to reiterate, this goes back to Diane's question of continuing business, the porta potty with hand washing station, I want to add, does get covered by our continuing business expense fund because we are continuing our business as a church by bringing you to the grounds and providing you what you need to do an amazing cleanup on whatever day you choose to come, in addition to the official work day on the 14th. So just to roll that all in, that's how that works.
Other questions or thoughts that have come to mind? I believe we are ready to adjourn our latest update. And we look forward to seeing you November 5th for the next update, if not before, at a service, where we will celebrate